guys, if you're new to Deception Bites, hit the like and subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos. If you wish to support the channel, the links are in the description below. Now, fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. All right, well, I'm back and I see you guys are as well, which is a bit of a surprise. I thought maybe you'd go and abandon me since I've been gone for 2 days. Anyway, I've got things straightened out and sorry that I was down for the count for the last 2 days, but I'm back now. A little worse for the wear, but I'm back nonetheless. All right, well, let's get started and we're going to go over here, and I want to take an opportunity. I meant to do this. I did do it. I had recorded an entire video, and then I realized that it didn't record because the cord was chewed through. All right, everything's good now. So I'm going to thank these people. We've got new Patreon supporters, which I appreciate very, very much. And these are from a couple days ago now. So Nori Orsolok, thank you very much. Rachel Hunt, Charlotte Overton, Ricky Johnson, and someone that goes by the name JGE. I wonder if that is short for George or Jorge. I don't know. But thank you so much. I appreciate it, and it makes this possible. So, and it covers, like for new equipment needed and, things like that. All right, and thank you also to my coffee donors, Mary Ann from North Carolina. I used to live in North Carolina. That was the first state that I moved to in the States, and I loved it. I stayed there for about 10 years, I think. I really liked it. Anyway, so thank you, Mary Ann, and thank you to the Patreon supporters. And as always, now I've had some people message me about this because I said that the show notes would be on Patreon. Well, indeed, they are on Patreon. However, it appears that you have to be a Patreon supporter to be able to get them. Now, I unlocked them, so I figured that, well, that's all I need to do. But it's only unlocked for Patreon supporters, and there's no other way for me to set it up so that anyone can view it. I really apologize for that. I do have a website out there, but I haven't done anything on it for years. So I may have to get that, fired up again and be able to place them both on Patreon and on a website that you can get to so you can view them for free. I do apologize. It was not my intention to leave out anybody because that's not what I'm about. I want everybody to have access because I figure that those of you that can, and want to will support, and those that can't, either they're on fixed incomes or they could be on disability. I don't want anybody to ever feel any pressure. I've been in situations like that myself, and I know how uncomfortable it is. And you know what? There's a whole lot of people on YouTube that I'd like to be able to support too, but I can't support everybody. So I totally get it. So I will work on that. But for now, even if you wanted to do Patreon for like $1 a month, I think that might be the cheapest. And you can always cancel it if it's not something that you want. But I don't like that it's set up that way at all. And I'm not trying to get money out of people, really. I want to make these available. And if anybody else has an idea of how I can make these available for free, let me know, because I do want to do that. So I want everybody to be able to benefit. All right. So let's go on now. Now, of course, the news I'm going to get to is a little bit old now. Of course, we're going to be moving into some newer news. But, for example, I was just looking over this, and it was an article about the House Republicans moving to condemn Adam Schiff's as a floor vote approaches. Well, that has already taken place. And of course, people voted along party lines. The Democrats voted to condemn Adam Schiff, and the Democrats voted not to. Now, that's nothing new. I think we're getting really, really used to this. So now let's look at, okay, I'm going to move to this now. You've probably already heard this. Again, I did this not yesterday, but the day before, and the video did not record. So you've probably heard this, rumors, but Nancy Pelosi's brother, former Baltimore Mayor Thomas D'Alessandro III, has died. And Okay, yeah, the guy was, he was fairly elderly. I think he was in his 90s. So it's not that surprising that he passed away. It's just the timing that I find a little bit odd because he was very important to, the history of Baltimore, Maryland, and he's been involved in politics there. And of course, we also had Elijah Cummings pass away last week as well. So just a little bit odd in terms of the timing there. But Thomas D'Alessandro, the third, a former Baltimore mayor who led the city during the 1968 riots and brother of Democratic House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, has died. My husband, Paul, and our entire family are devastated by the loss of our patriarch, my beloved brother, Thomas D'Alessandro. The third, Pelosi said Sunday in a statement released by her office, Tommy was the finest public servant I have ever known. The Baltimore Sun reported D'Alessandro, who served as Baltimore's mayor from 1967 to 1971, died Sunday at his Baltimore home after complications of a stroke. He was 90. So, yeah, it's not so unbelievable that somebody at the age of 90 would have a stroke and pass away, but it's just a little odd as to the timing, that's all. Born to an Italian-American family and known as young Tommy, D'Alessandro had a political upbringing. And of course, both Pelosi's brother and her father were quite important in terms of Baltimore, Maryland's politics. And I think it has been a Democratic city going back or run by Democrats since, I'm not sure, but it's a very long time, which could explain why it's in the shape that it's in. But anyway, his father, Thomas D'Alessandro Jr., served in the U.S. House of Representatives from 1939 to 1947 as mayor of Baltimore for 12 years after that. His sister Nancy became the first woman to serve as Speaker of the House in 2007. His mother, Annunziata, I'm not sure how you pronounce that name, who also went by Nancy, was an inventor who patented a device to apply steam to the face, effectively an at-home facial. She helped her husband in politics, supporting him as he became Baltimore's first Catholic mayor. Pelosi, who just last week lost colleague and friend, Maryland Democratic Representative Elijah Cummings at age 68, also remembers her brother as someone dedicated to the family's hometown of Baltimore. See, with all this money missing in Baltimore, and, it's just odd that two important players in Baltimore's history would pass away at relatively the same time. So I don't know, and I'm not going to get into all of this and read all of this, but I wanted you to know now whether or not it's anything, untoward. I don't know. I would like to say no, but the way things are going, it just seems like everything is related. And we never did find out what happened to Hillary Clinton's brother. I don't think that ever came out, what the cause of death was there. It's just that he died all of a sudden, and, we never heard much about it. Why is that, I wonder? Why did they keep that out of the news? I mean, what would be the big deal in telling us how he died, or why he died, or if he had been sick? I don't know. I found that a little bit odd, to tell you the truth, unless perhaps he commits suicide, or perhaps somebody commits suicide for him. I don't know. Again, it's all conjecture at this point, and so it's really unfair for me to even be saying that because we don't know the facts. But if any of you do, in fact, know the facts, please put it in the comments below because it helps us all. We all need one another. None of us have all of the news, and none of us have all of the insight on anything. We need each other desperately. We are the news now, like it or not. So anyway, let's go back and we looked at that. Now, what is this? I think I know. Yeah. This is very interesting. This by Spygate Down, found it on Twitter. And this person, Spygate Down, says, Hillary claims, number one, she was named after a man who conquered Mount Everest, but he didn't do that until she was 6. Apparently, she didn't have a name until she was 6 years old. Imagine that. What did they call her? Hey, you? I don't know. But yeah, she said she was named after a man whose name was Hillary, I believe, and he climbed Mount Everest, but he didn't do that until she was 6 years old. So how was it that she was named after him? I don't know. But hey, either it's one or the other. She's either lying or she didn't have a name until she was 6. It's one or the other. All right. So number 2, she wrote a letter as a little girl to NASA. Somebody said it's not Nassau. Nassau is in Barbados. It's NASA. I know that. I guess I don't know why I call it Nassau. You're right. I said it wrong. Okay, she wrote a letter as a little girl to NASA, but the agency wasn't formed until she was 11, and nobody went to space until she was 15. Casual liar. And the other thing somebody pointed out to me, and I think it was somebody in our comments, if I'm not mistaken, or it may not have been, but the fact that she, if NASA had really written back to her and said, well, we don't take girls, first of all, don't you think she would save that? Really? I would have thought, like, if I ever got a letter from NASA, I would save it. I would think that was a big deal, especially if I was just a little girl. But she didn't. And I find that a little odd as well. And yeah. Anyway, now this says other lies. 3, she claimed she landed in Bosnia under sniper fire and had to run heads down to shelter, but photos of the landing show her shaking hands with the welcome party in the open. And I think a little girl brought her flowers too. Yeah, I guess they were sniper flowers. Who knows? I guess that little girl was like dangerous little girl. All right, and 4, she claimed her daughter was jogging around the World Trade Center on 9/11, but Chelsea said she was in her apartment at the time. So, I don't know. Why would Hillary lie about that? But I think Chelsea probably knows where she was on 9/11. I think everybody does. I know exactly where I was and what I was eating and who I was with. Everything. I was babysitting my pastor's kids, actually, and I will never forget it. I will never forget it. And I remember saying to them, they were all fairly young, and I said, life is never going to be the same after today. And they looked at me and they kind of laughed, like they thought, right. But of course, that's the way it is. Those of us that lived through 9/11 always refer to time as before and after 9/11. It's odd, but all right. So she lied about that. And Hillary was fired from Watergate committee for being a liar, a dishonest lawyer. She did not receive a letter of recommendation. Yeah, she was on the Watergate committee, believe it or not. Can you imagine? It's kind of like, she's a bigger criminal than Nixon ever thought of being. But she was on the Watergate committee. Yes, she was, and she was fired. Yeah. Imagine that. She doesn't ever talk about that point, though, does she, that she was fired? All right, and I suppose we should have chosen 15-year-old Hillary over fantastic test pilots like Alan Shepard and John Glenn. Anyway, that's somebody, commenting about her wanting to be an astronaut. All right. Okay, well, that's it for that. I just wanted to, I thought that was a little interesting. And let's come back to here, and let's look at here. You know why? Because we can. All right. Now, I'm just going to say right now that this is going to upset people. There is bad language here. Yes, from those 4 little girls, there is bad language. And so I just want to warn you before I play this. However, I do want to play this because I literally could not believe this. And if I'd not lived for the last couple of years and everything I've seen since Donald Trump came into office, I probably wouldn't believe it. I would, think that this was some sort of a bad joke, but it's not, unfortunately. So it says not one word from the left about inflammatory rhetoric or decency. Yeah, they have no room to talk about inflammatory rhetoric or decency or anything else accusing the right, because it's unbelievable what they're doing. Now, you watch this. Now, if that was my child in this, I would be absolutely so ashamed. I really would. Well, first of all, I would never give a child of mine permission to do something like this because it's horrific. But let's play this. Just warning about the language again.
Your song about President Trump.
It says, ready for your song about President Trump. It's hard to hear this. At least I find it hard to hear, not because it's not loud enough, but because it's muffled. So ready for your song about President Trump. And of course, they have Trump here with his hand around a Ku Klux Klan member, trying to paint him as a racist, as they all do. So they're in this group called Pussy Scouts, and they've got the little pink pussy hats, and this is what they're doing. Are you ready to sing a song about President Trump? And she starts rapping. Granny be dropping a beat that's sick. We're gonna rap a prez who's a sexist dick. Look at these little kids. That's what they're singing. You call women fat pigs. Show no respect.
Show no respect. You're gonna get wrecked.
It says, try to grab my pussy and you're gonna get wrecked. Like, look at how old these girls are. And of course, she's holding a little cat here, and there's somebody going to grab the cat.
My pussy, you're gonna get wrecked.
Cutting Planned Parenthood healthcare. An agenda more effed than your effed up hair. And look at this kid. Double, given the double bird to President Trump. Unbelievable.
You said of ladies?
You said of ladies, you gotta treat them like shite.
You gotta treat them like shit.
Accused rapist.
Rapist,
sex assault culprit.
Assault culprit.
And take away a woman's abortion right.
A woman's abortion right.
My bitch Liz Warren will take you down in a fight. Like Princess Leia chalked out Jabba the Hutt.
The women's march.
The women's march showed women's mouths. Can't be shut.
Super callous, monster, racist, sexist, not my POTUS.
Yeah.
See, did you hear what that little girl said? She said, super callous, fraudster, racist, sexist, not my POTUS. Well, I'm sorry, little girl, but he is your POTUS, whether you like it or not. Bullshit racist Muslim ban. You're loved by Nazis and the Ku Klan. Wall-stopping immigrants that you hate and berate. Is racist ignorance. Don't make America great.
MCCUMBER.com. The pussy hat emerged in the Women's March as a powerful symbol of the fight for equality. Get your hat or get involved with the cause and get a shirt. Girls just want to have fun to mental rights. This is what a feminist looks like. PussyScouts.com.
Can you believe that? It would have been one thing if they had grown-up women, but having these little girls, that's beyond. It's just beyond. What parent would want, certainly, I mean, I was raised as my mother always said, you be what you want. It doesn't matter if you're a woman, you can do a man's job if that's what you aspire to. I mean, I was always raised like that, but I was raised with respect. And, you know, yes, my mother wanted me to be outspoken and to stand up for myself, but she would never have wanted me to be that, ever. So, yeah, I'm sure that you guys probably feel exactly the way I do about this. So I'm not going to belabor it, but I just, if you hadn't seen it, I had to show that to you. Sorry, because it probably upset a great many of you. It certainly did me. All right, now let's look at this. And again, this is a couple days old, but if you haven't heard it, which I'm sure everybody has, but Pelosi and Schiff traveled to Jordan to undermine President Trump in shadow diplomacy. Violate Logan Act. Should be immediately arrested upon return. Well, I happen to agree with that wholeheartedly. They should be arrested upon return. They are clearly in violation of the Logan Act, but I guess that only, it only applies if you're Republican. Then you get in trouble if you do wrong things. But if you're Democrat, you can really do whatever you want, including make up your own rules, change the rules when it suits you. You can control the narrative in the news. You can, cheat in the elections. You can do whatever you want. You can, embezzle money. You always seem to get away with it. They do. All right. It wasn't that long ago that Obama deep state operatives led by U.S. Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates accused General Michael Flynn of violating the Logan Act for making calls to foreign dignitaries, including the Russian ambassador, after Donald Trump won the election in 2016. We know now that the Obama administration and deep state officials were spying on General Michael Flynn for at least a year prior to his private phone call with the Russian ambassador that they leaked to the liberal fake news media. The Logan Act, enacted in January 30th, 1799, is a United States federal law that criminalizes negotiation by unauthorized persons with foreign governments having a dispute with the United States. So, if you're in the government, you listen to your president. You don't just go over there and start negotiating with foreign heads of states. That would be in violation of the Logan Act because you're not authorized to go over there and start, negotiations. But that doesn't matter to them. They think they're authorized. They think they are in charge of this country, and they think they're running this country. General Michael Flynn's job as National Security Advisor was to contact foreign dignitaries, including the Russian ambassador, after the 2016 election. Fast forward to today, Speaker Nancy Pelosi and her top lieutenant, Adam Schiff, flew off to Jordan this weekend on their shadow diplomacy trip. The Democrat leaders met with Jordanian leaders and others to undermine President Trump's Syrian policy. When Obama and Hillary Clinton tore apart the Middle East, it shouldn't say form, it should say from. I'm telling you, all the editors have died. When Obama and Hillary Clinton tore apart the Middle East from Yemen to Egypt to Syria to Libya, resulting in tens of thousands of deaths and millions of third world immigrants flooding Europe and the U.S., the Democrat Party leaders did nothing. Well, of course, they don't really care about these issues that they say they care so deeply about, like the immigrants and all that. You think they care about the immigrants? Do you think Pelosi would have that great big old wall around her house? Oh, and Obama has one too. They all have them. They all have walls around their house, to keep them separate from the great unwashed. All right. But this weekend they flew to Jordan to undermine President Trump. Arrest these traitors. That's how I feel as well. In fact, it's getting very frustrating isn't even the word. It's beyond frustrating because you're hoping, like I'm always hoping, that they're going to be arrested, that justice is going to be served, but they just keep doing more and more and more and seem to be getting away with it. So I don't know. Oh, and by the way, those of you, I'm sure everybody's heard, but Justin Trudeau is won the prime minister. He is the prime minister again, and now he lost a majority So he's operating with a minority government, which is good, at least. But where did all these people come from that voted for him? I don't know anybody that wants Justin Trudeau in there. So I don't know. Did they cheat? What happened? Don't know. Except that we do have a lot of new arrivals. And of course, they are going to be loyal to Justin Trudeau because he is so in favor of bringing them in and supporting them on Canadian taxpayers' dollars while they get established. So I can imagine that they all voted for Justin, but I'm hoping that the things that need to come out about Justin Trudeau come out really fast. So anyway, let's go on here. And yes, and I'm sure you have heard that Mitt Romney has been busted for having a secret Twitter account, and the name is Pierre Delecto. So he formed a secret Twitter account under the name Pierre Delecto. Interesting. Why did he do that? Who is he needing to communicate to? Anyway, now let's go into some of the newer things here. I skipped over a few things that are really way old news now. Okay, Playboy model who had evidence of elite pedophile ring found dead. Now, I'd like to say, gee, I'm surprised, but I'm not, because that seems to be the way it goes. And it's like these people, you know, these people die that seem to have evidence, real evidence against people. They seem to die and nothing ever seems to be done about it. Like, where is Jeffrey Epstein? Is he dead? Is he alive? Where is he? There's a lot of other people. You know, you've got Abel Danger saying that Barack Obama was killed at Gitmo, but he's still out and around. He's still, I mean, he supported Trudeau, unless that was somebody else that has control of his Twitter page. I don't know. But there's just seems to be more and more questions and more confusion. So I'm hoping that this month it all starts to coagulate into something, because I think, I don't know about you, but I'm getting tired of seeing the same news and, oh yeah, you know, but it doesn't seem to get better. Now, I know that Trump, I mean, he's not going to be impeached. They're going to drag this on. They're going to, you know, whatever. But once it gets to the Senate, they're just going to kick it out. So he won't get impeached. But, you know, they want to keep that narrative up for as long as they can, to keep as much garbage out there as they can, to try to smear him and damage him as much for the election. But how is Pelosi getting away with this? How is Adam Schiff getting away with this? How can he just stand up there and say whatever just make it up? I mean, we couldn't do that. Like in any job that I've ever had, I can't just make up things. I would have been fired. But not him. Okay, so a Playboy model who uncovered evidence of an international elite pedophile ring has been found dead just weeks after publicly stating that she was fearing for her life and would never commit suicide. Model and actress Natasha Jate, 41, said that if she was found dead in suspicious circumstances, it would be due to her attempts to expose the pedophile ring. Ms. Jate shot to fame in Europe after traveling to Spain from Argentina to find her fortune with just $10 in her pocket. Soon she was socializing with some of the wealthiest and most powerful people on the planet and learning their secrets. In 2018, the mother of 2 young children accused high-level politicians, sports stars, and entertainers of being involved in a an international, evil beyond your worst nightmares, pedophile ring that systematically kidnaps children before plunging them into a life of depravity and ritual rape and torture. On Twitter, she warned she would be killed for sharing her discoveries with the world, stating that if she died in the near future, it would not be suicide bid, but related to her attempts to expose the high-ranking pedophiles. The famous model attempted to warn the world about the danger of exposing the elite pedophile ring. A Playboy model who claimed she had evidence of a VIP pedophile ring has been found dead after a house party in her native Argentina. In Spanish, she wrote in April last year, "Warning, I am not going to commit suicide. I am not going to take too much cocaine and drown in a bath or shoot myself. So if this happens, it wasn't me. Save this tweet." However, after being found dead in Argentina on Saturday, the coroner quickly declared that Natasha Jade had suffered a drug overdose before closing the case. How typical is that? According to her brother, she did not take drugs because they would have reacted badly with medication she had been prescribed, and she felt a responsibility to set a good example to her 2 children. Ms. Jade appeared on Spanish Big Brother after finding fame in Europe, where she met many of the world's most powerful people. Her lawyer and her brother are both alleging that Ms. Jade's death was murder. Police are investigating the circumstances of the death, as well as the 5 people who were in the house just before she was discovered, according to local reports. Jade was survived by 2 children and a brother. So you tell me. I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious. And that seems to happen with anybody that has evidence of anything major. They just tend to have an overdose or shoot themselves or something, and it's never questioned. Oh, it's suicide. Even though that person has said, "I'm not going to commit suicide." Oh no, it was suicide. Well, in this case, drug overdose, and she didn't do drugs. So, yeah. All right. So, let's go back here, and let's look at this along the same lines. GOP senator drops bomb. Foster kids are being sold into sex slavery. Now, we know this. We should know this by now. And if you've been awake for very long, I'm quite certain you know this. A conservative Republican senator who is convinced that Arizona Department of Child Safety is facilitating the global sex trafficking of children removed from negligent parents called the police on one of his GOP colleagues, alleging that she threatened his life. Senator David Farnsworth, a Republican from Mesa, or is it Mesa? I think it's Mesa, filed a report with the Arizona Department of Public Safety this week accusing I don't know why it does that. Accusing Senator Kate Brophy McGee, Phoenix, of threatening him if he didn't stop investigating the outrageous claim. Can't be that outrageous if he was threatened to stop investigating it. If somebody was investigating me for something that I knew was ridiculous and I didn't do, I'd say, by all means, help yourself. Anything I can help you with, any information I can provide you with, right? You don't threaten somebody if they're, investigating something that has no merit. That doesn't make sense. Meanwhile, just days ago, news broke in Arizona of top never-Trumpers tied to an Arizona politician indicted for human smuggling and selling children in Arizona, Utah, and Arkansas. The names of some of the largest GOP critics of President Donald Trump are surfacing in the investigation of a politician indicted of charges of fraud, human smuggling, selling children, forgery, conspiracy, and ripping off the Arizona healthcare cost containment system. GOP critics of President Trump, including former U.S. Senator Jeff Flake, late Senator John McCain, and Senator Mitt Romney, among others, are linked to suspect Paul Peterson. Peterson also campaigned for and is friends with Arizona Governor Doug, it says Gug. I think it means Doug Ducey, maybe. And other politicians, according to records and sources. But back to the new bombshell allegations coming again out of Arizona. The Arizona Senator Farnsworth said that he had been looking into how DC's lost more than 550 children last year, roughly half of whom are categorized as either runaways or otherwise missing. The rest appear to be flagged for paperwork errors. He said he fears the children have been abducted and sold into global sex trafficking ring, and said he has been holding meetings with DCS, critics of the agency, and fellow lawmakers, including Brophy McGee. Farnsworth said he didn't believe DCS officials were actively selling children into sexual slavery, but they were being lax at protecting children from predators who will do so. While he said he hopes his meetings ultimately prove him wrong, Farnsworth said he is more convinced than ever that Arizona children removed from their parents and put into group homes or foster homes are being sex trafficked. When I first heard about this, I believed that children from Arizona, DCS, were ending up in sex trafficking. Now, after the research I've done, I'm confident of it, he said. Farnsworth also alleged that 2 former Republican state senators from other states who were killed within days of each other earlier this year were executed because they were investigating links between their own states' child protective agencies and global sex trafficking rings. The FBI has intervened in the murder investigation of former Arkansas State Senator Linda Collins Smith, according to federal agencies who detailed what the Republican politician was investigating prior to her grisly murder. Collins Smith was gunned down and her body was discovered outside her home about 2 hours northeast of Little Rock on June 4th. She suffered multiple gunshot wounds. A friend of the beloved Arkansas state senator had been formally charged with the murder. Rebecca Lynn O'Donnell, 48, was charged with capital murder, abuse of a corpse, and tampering with evidence in the death of Collins Smith. O'Donnell of Pocahontas was arrested in the death of Collins Smith. Documents in the case have reportedly been sealed, and police have released few details about the circumstances surrounding the death of Collins Smith, who was elected to the state Senate as a Republican in 2014, but lost a re-election bid last year. The former senator's body was found in an advanced state of decomposition, and it took authorities 2 days to identify the remains using dental records. The paper reports, citing a statement by prosecuting attorney Henry Boyce. With a murder suspect already in custody, however, federal law enforcement sources revealed Collins Smith, at the time of her death, was probing child pornography cases linked to a child trafficking syndicate in Arkansas. What a coincidence. That was loud, wasn't it? She had developed this information through contacts and people very close to her, a law enforcement source said. The plan was to go public with all of it or hand it to a law enforcement outside of Arkansas. The FBI sources would not say whether the former senator was working with the FBI prior to her death, but federal insiders said the FBI began interviewing witnesses in the case in recent weeks. Also, the Secret Service has taken an interest in the case as well, though FBI sources would not elaborate on the Secret Service's role. Interesting. So, yeah. So much of this happening, and it's no wonder they hate Trump, because Trump is very hard on this and has, really, I think he is a friend to the children for real, because I think that his administration is doing more than any other administration before it and is getting results. That's what I think. And I think they hate him for it because he's cutting off their money. It's not just their power, it's their money source. And you know how they are about that. It all comes down to the almighty dollar. All right. And obviously, Trump is not, I don't think he's being driven by a love of money, because he's donating his whole salary, which is $400,000, which is nothing to him. That's absolutely nothing to him, but he's donating his entire salary. So he is working for free, although you never hear that from anybody. You never hear any appreciation for the fact that he donates his salary back into the government. Did any of the others do that? No. Would they? No. And he's lost, I don't know, it's I think billions. I think it's $2 billion. It could be that could be way off. I just seem to recall that in my head. He's lost a lot of money being president. So, yeah, it's evident that he wants what is best for the country, and is not doing this to gain more power and money. He's got enough money to live quite comfortably the rest of his life and provide for his children and his children's 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 children. So there you go. Now let's look at this, since we're on a roll here with all this stuff. Disney World employee arrested for having child porn. Brett Kinney was arrested last week at his home in Lake Alfred. Yeah. So Lake Alfred, Florida, a man who worked at Walt Disney World as a manager was arrested on suspicion of possessing child porn. According to WESH News, Brett Kinney was arrested last week at his home in Lake Alfred. Kinney told deputies he had been watching child porn for 22 years and knew it was wrong, illegal, and immoral, but couldn't stop himself and needed help. That's a loud plane. I'm right in the flight path for the airbase. Okay. But he couldn't stop himself and needed help, according to an arrest report. So the only reason why I pulled that is because it was Disney World. And I thought, yeah, there seems to be a lot of that there. So let's go on here. I have to show you this. No, really? I do. Yep, I do. And this will be the last one for this video. I may be doing a short video on the other channel, so called, appropriately enough, the other channel. So you can stay tuned for that. All right, actual witches hunt Trump with pre-Halloween binding spell. Now, I know there's probably a lot of you that say, oh, that's just a bunch of whatever. That doesn't... You know what? After you have had dealings with evil, you never forget it. Once evil has touched your life, I mean true evil, you can never be untouched by it. And I'll tell you something, although I do believe in the Lord Jesus Christ and I do trust him as my Lord and Savior. However, I also know and have a healthy respect for the other side. And if you think they don't have any power, you're wrong. Because I've seen things. I've seen things that I can't repeat because I'd probably be put away. Nobody'd believe me. So yes, these things do have power. There is power in evil. There's a lot of power in evil. It's just that greater is he that is in us than he that's in the world. So yeah, I trust the Lord Jesus Christ. However, I do have a healthy respect and I stay away from this kind of stuff. I don't even make fun of it because let me tell you, there is power there. And those binding spells and things, they can work, especially now they can't if you are a Christian and you are protected and all that. But, you know, yeah, don't poo-poo it is all I'm saying, really. Until you've experienced it, don't poo-poo it. Because I'll tell you, if you've ever had anything weird happen around you or, you know, whatever, I'm just leaving it there. Witches across the United States are preparing to cast a coordinated binding spell on President Trump on October 25th, their third such attempt. According to the Boston Globe, the so-called magic resistance first sought to bind the president in 2017. Since then, they have attempted to do the same to Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, as well as hex the NRA. Here's what it looks like. Okay, I'm not going to play that because I don't want to. I'm willing to go on record and say it's working, the spell's inventor, Michael Hughes, told the Washington Examiner. Knowing thousands of people are gathering together at the same time from all over the world to do this ritual and to put our beliefs and our desires into sharp focus and to do that ritualistically, I think that has a really powerful effect. And as a Daily Caller reports, the ingredients for the binding include an unflattering photo of Trump, a tarot card, a stub of an orange candle, a pin, and a feather. together. Last year, a group of real witches took umbrage with President Trump's repeated use of the term witch hunt to describe the Russia investigation. Oh, so there you go. Now, you know what I would suggest? I would suggest that those of us that are believers on October 25th, that we do the opposite and we pray for President Trump. We should be praying for those in authority over us, those that, you know, are especially the highest office in the land. We definitely need to pray for him. He needs wisdom, he needs guidance, and he needs protection. So I think that, you know, now, and I'm not saying I agree with absolutely everything Donald Trump says or does. No, I don't. But I have respect for the man. I think he wants what's right for our country. He wants to do the right thing. I don't believe he's a globalist. At least I pray not. And, you know, I think that if any man needs wisdom, it's him right now. He's facing a lot, and he's facing people that are constantly trying to entrap him. That's no way to live, but he's forced to. So anyway, I would encourage you guys, and maybe, I don't know how we could organize that. It would be nice to do something to remember that day and to remember to pray for him. I think I might even put something on Twitter about that, because I think that is something that we all need to counter. So anyway, that is it for tonight. Again, I apologize for my 2 nights away. Wasn't my choice. Trust me, wasn't my choice. But anyway, I'm back now. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow. And I am probably going to do a short video over on the other channel. So just so that I can keep some videos going over there to get that built up. And yeah. So anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate it. And I missed you guys. And I will talk to you soon. Stay safe. Have a good night. Sleep well. And keep seeking truth. Good night.